2 weeks ago, I had an appointment with my doctor. She regrettably informed me that I am no longer able to receive my life-saving gender health care due to the fact that there has been an executive order that has been enacted by President Trump. California has always felt like a country of its own to me due to the fact that its positive trans legislation is such a stark contrast from the rest of the country. According to UCLA Williams Institute, a study done in 2023 found that there are over 50,000 transgender youth in the state alone. So if this is affecting me, then it is affecting other people, and that might be someone that you know and love. Education is power, as we all know. So today I am to inform you about the Trump administration's agenda with transgender rights through detailing the 3 executive orders that he has already passed. 1, banning transgender people from sports. 2, barring all those under 19 to receive gender health care. And 3, recognizing 2 genders as unchangeable. To fully understand the goal of the Trump administration's goal with transgender people, let's look at the first one, which is banning transgender women from sports. On the first day of his second term, President Trump changed the White House website on sports to say, "Keep men out of women's sports," referring to trans women as men, according to the White House website. The administration's justification is that this is demeaning and unfair to cis women. For those that don't know, the word cis is referred to those that are born in their preferred gender and sex, so the opposite of trans, and the executive order is barring trans people from competing with these cis people. Trans women in sports is such a huge conflict that we think that there are so many of them currently causing ruckus throughout the country, but according to New York Times, there are over 500,000 athletes that are currently competing in the country, and fewer than actual 10 of those are transgender. So that just shows that the issue is very blown out of proportion. A result of this sports ban is that the NCAA, which is known as the National College Athletic Association, has prematurely barred all trans people from being able to compete in their preferred gender sport. In addition, if any team is caught having a transgender person on their team, they're going to be put into a co-ed league and are no longer eligible for any competitions. If we look back in time, we can see that this scapegoat for protection of women to be able to justify taking away transgender women's rights has been used a lot. As in 2016, when this bathroom predator myth was created about trans people, acting like they are going to come into bathrooms solely for the transitioning purpose of attacking women and children, which is obviously not true. And this is according to ACLU. Now that we've discussed the Trump administration's executive order with transgender people in sports, let's look at the one that's currently affecting me. So on January 28th of 2025, Trump enacted a second executive order called Protecting Children from Chemical and Sexual and Child Mutilations. In simple terms, this means that he's barring all transgender health care for those under 19. What does the order do? The executive order aims to shut down all medical practices that aim to aid transgender people, so hormone blockers, gender healthcare aid, surgeries, etc. And in addition, Trump also promises to withhold all federal funding for any hospitals that are caught doing this and providing these surgeries for these mutilations, he's calling them. The executive order has not yet passed, but many insurance providers and hospitals have already prematurely rejected transgender youth from being able to receive any form of medical care in fear that they're going to be barred from any federal funding that they need to keep their hospitals open. And according to that, there are 300,000 transgender youth that are going to be affected by this executive order, according to Williams Institute of UCLA, and if passed, this number will decrease because according to Stanford Medicine, those who transition early in their life have a lowered suicide rate by 135%. Now, let's move on to the last executive order regarding trans people, which is barring all of those from switching genders and legally recognizing 2 genders as unchangeable. So on January 20th of 2025, the Trump administration enacted this new executive order titled Extremism and Restoring Biological Truth to the Federal Government. This is from the White House website. This executive order aims to legally recognize 2 genders, male and female, as unchangeable and farther condemning the changes as unlawful. Formally, Trump says that the administration will defend women's rights and protect freedoms of conscience. This is from Trump's own words at on the White House website. And essentially, the Trump administration's plan is to erase the idea of sex and gender being separate things. So as we all know, sex is what we are born into, and gender is what a social construct and what we feel like we are. And Trump is trying to federally get rid of that idea, now combining the two, saying that sex is gender and you cannot change them. Immediate result of this order is that trans women who are in federal prisons are now being all put into male prisons. If this is not obvious, this is obviously going to be a horrible thing against trans women because of their safety. And as we all know, trans women are disproportionately affected by hate crimes and sexual violence in comparison to cis women. So this is very dangerous, and including that, trans women in homeless shelters and also migrant housing have the same situation where they're being put into male migrant housing and homeless shelters, according to Northwestern University. The executive order also aims to weaken longstanding protections for intersex and non-binary people. For those that don't know, intersex is people who are born with both parts. It's a biological truth that cannot be ignored. They have protections under DEI programs. For those that don't know, DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it has been a long-standing organizational framework for minorities to be able to get equal rights in this country. Trans people are just one of many that actually benefits from the DEI programs Donald Trump is getting rid of, according to Northwestern University. The legislation regarding transgender rights has been processed honestly progressing in recent years under the Biden administration. We all know that is uphill battle, but in less than a month, all of the acts and rights that Biden has given transgender people have been repealed. It is up to personal opinion on whether or not that you think Donald Trump is a good president, or whether or not that you think that these laws he is making on transgender people are immoral or not. But what is not an opinion is the fact that these laws, these 3 executive orders in specific, are increasing dangers and minimizing freedoms for the transgender community through banning them from sports, barring them from gender healthcare as minors, and legally delegitimizing them. It is subjective whether you liked or voted for President Trump. This is obvious, but the facts around trans people remain strong, and the fact is that trans people aren't safe from erasure under the Trump administration. That goes for honestly any minorities' rights. If we are not aware of our personal freedoms, then we are not aware of how to use them, and in return, we aren't aware of when they are being taken away. In times of excessive change, like this presidency, it is essential to stay informed about the facts and remain vigilant, instead of holding on to fear and using propaganda. So now, hopefully with detailing these 3 executive orders, I've been able to just provide you a little bit more context about why the Trump administration's rights on transgender people are changing so much. Thank you.